lounging, son.
Welcome back to the Comic Lounge. My name's Ryan.
And I'm Manny.
You messaged me about this book, and I was like, yes, I'm down to reread it. It's been a while since I've reread it. So, Batman Failsafe by Chip Zdarsky Jorge Jimenez and Tomomori. This is the first volume of Chip's Batman run, and I gotta be honest, going back and before we get into it, before rereading this first arc and then reading what's come since then, I think this is the best arc still.
I haven't read it all, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna continue, but I we'll get into it when we start talking details. But the intensity of this is gonna be hard to top.
Yeah, so I'm gonna get rid of this glossy ass sleeve because it's blinding me on the camera. But yeah, it was a great beginning to a run. And not to say that the other arcs haven't been good. I think this was like he set the bar very high, and the subsequent arcs have been like they've been good, but not necessarily my favorite. And this current arc that's happening as of the time we're recording the Joker year one, so far has been really good. But again, this to me is the best. Let me get into it. Okay, so that's the cover that was blinding me. I love this cover, by the way. I love how
it's amazing.
Robin almost in the where the bat symbol should be, and it kind of looks like a bat. And it's Tim Drake too. So Tim Drake's my favorite Robin. I think he's the best Robin. And that's not saying Dick Grayson's not great, but Dick Grayson to me is a better character as Nightwing than he was as Robin.
Agreed. Tim Drake was my Robin that I grew up reading. So
yeah, same. I mean, I think I don't want to say I have a complete run of the ongoing, but I have pretty much every issue of that run, including like the mini series and then when he became Red Robin. So it's cool to see them make him the Robin again, if that makes sense, because Damian is still Robin at this point, but Tim Drake has been more with Bruce, with the exception of the new Batman and Robin ongoing by Joshua Williamson. But when you see like Robin with when you see Batman with Robin in other books, it's usually Tim lately. And we get this great opening scene. You know, it's in the past. We see Alfred. We hear this like beeping. Having read the story now, you know what this beeping is. And not to spoil anything, but I mean, this book's called Failsafe, and it's Batman basically has created this perfect robot that is basically him without like the heart and compassion, right? And so it's important to note this because later on, like it mentions like Alfred's the only one that can kind of
turn it off.
Yeah, for false alarms because
right.
The robot is triggered by something, and we'll talk about it. But we come here and we see the three Jokers, the three versions. Mm-hmm. They've killed all of the Bat family, and they're like telling him to wake up. And it's kind of interesting too, because this kind of plays out to not just the three Jokers story by Jeff Johns and Jason Fabok, but what's going on in the current Joker story that he's doing, and kind of riffing on what those three Jokers really are, which I've kind of thought since its inception, I thought was weird. Like there's just multiple Jokers and there's not one. I don't know. It's hard for me to wrap my head around that concept, but
it is, yeah.
But we come into the present, and Bruce at this point has lost his fortune, following the James Tynion run, doesn't have his mansion, all that stuff. He's kind of, I don't want to say bare bones because he still has a little bit of money, but he's lost most of his fortune at this point. And we see, he's in a state of disarray. He's calling Catwoman. He's just reaching out for that relationship, and she's got another man in the room, so he realizes like he's got to leave that in the past, right? And there's a murder on the loose. His city needs him to go to work. I love Chip's writing in this. I think that he did a great Daredevil run. I think his everything he writes, actually, I really did. His Avengers Twilight series that's going on right now is really good.
Fantastic.
It's like a Marvel Kingdom Come almost. It's kind of
how I feel about good. Yeah. And one thing I do love about this particular arc, and after I read it, I went on a little binge and started listening to the podcasts and interviews that Chip did at the time when he was doing this, to find out a little bit about what made him kind of write this. And I love that it's piggying back on an arc that you and I did on the channel, which is the Tower of Babel, which is, this is almost like an extension of the ideas that were created in that, where everyone knows that's one of the more famous arcs in JLA, which is when Ra's al Ghul uses Batman's contingency plans against the League against them, and you find out that he's had all these things in place in case he needs to take down the League. And then reading that, I remember thinking, well, what about Batman? Does he have something for himself? And that's exactly what Chip asked himself, and that's what led to creating Failsafe. So in a way, it's almost a sequel to Tower of Babel.
It's also, well, I not even a sequel to Tower of Babel, but this is just like he's riffing on Grant Morrison's ideas because he also has the Batman of Zur and R, right? Like
Correct. Yes.
So he's riffing on the Batman run by Grant Morrison, but then Tower of Babel was Mark Waid, actually. Not that.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not,
He
it's not
mentions
Grant Morrison. It's that era.
He mentions that those are two of his biggest influences in writing, and like I can see it in Chip's writing. Like he's got kind of like these crazy ideas that Grant has, but he also has the ability to really zero in on characterization that I think is one of Mark Waid's biggest strengths. Is that he knows these characters to their bones, and Chip is bringing both those things to the table in this arc.
What's crazy too is he's writing Daredevil and Batman at the same time at this point.
Wow, I didn't think about that. Yeah, and people always say that Daredevil is Marvel's Batman. So
right, and then you think about like Frank Miller had great runs with Daredevil. Batman, not I wouldn't say necessarily a run, but he had great Batman stories, right? So like, and he's known for Batman, Daredevil, and then you see Chip take on both at the same time. Pretty crazy. I love this too, the catalyst, which is like the Penguin is calling out the wealthy and gonna kill them when in reality, like he too was born with a silver spoon. He just isn't like the pretty boy rich guy, right? And so he's manipulating the citizens of Gotham. Batman is gonna go basically is gonna hunt him down. I love the scenes between Tim and Bruce because like their dynamic was, to me, the more interesting dynamic of the partnership, right? Because Batman sought out Dick Grayson. Batman helped Jason Todd. But Tim sought Bruce out and knew that he needed a partner, right? So like they have just a completely different dynamic. Penguin's murdering the rich, and there's this gala that's gonna happen, and like Tim's like, so they're not gonna cancel? He's like, no. The hardest part of this job is this city wants to die. I don't know, that line right there. It's true. Like the rich don't give a shit. They think they're untouchable too. Like they're so ignorant about it. We see this, they're at the gala. Penguin comes in. I also have to call it, I like that it's the Danny DeVito Penguin.
I think that's on purpose too, because like what Penguin is doing here is sort of, I think, an homage and a callback to one of the plot points in Batman Returns, which is when he is making a list of all of Gotham's first sons and all that stuff.
Yeah, I love Batman, how Tim snuck in the belt and he has just the cowl and he's in his suit. Like his regular suit. I don't know. That to me is really, Jorge Jimenez to me is one of the best artists in comic books right now. I think.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned him because I wanted to talk about the art.
He stands out as like a very unique style, right? And I think he's like, if you had to like say like an A-list artist in comics right now, right? Of this generation or of the newer generation, like in the vein of the Liefelds, McFarlane's, Larson's, Jim Lee's of the 90s, to me, he's in that same breath, but for this generation.
Agreed. The art is beautiful, and like there's so much energy to the fight scenes. There's a darkness to his art that I really like too. That's perfect for Batman. He is a really great artist for Batman. I mean, I think when all is said and done, he's gonna be like one of the top tier Batman artists, at least for me.
I agree, and I think it's interesting that you and I have talked about too by myself, that you don't see long runs on comics anymore, right? And when I say long runs, I don't just mean writers. I mean you don't see artists sticking along. Like there's a current Daredevil run that already on issue 3 had a fill-in artist. That bothers me. Like how do you already have a fill-in artist on the 3rd issue of a new launch, right? Jorge Jimenez has been on this book since the last writer. So he's got more time than the writer. And that also doesn't really happen, right? Like, yes, there's other artists that come and do arcs, but Jorge Jimenez has been on basically since, was it issue 86? I could be wrong, but he's been on the book for a while, you know, with, you know, arcs in between by other artists, but I like that he's kind of the holdover from the previous run because I really dig his Batman. I dig everything he's doing. This right here too, when you find out it's Clayface, not Penguin, and this fucking thug shoots this right here, this
Oh yeah,
panel of Robin getting shot in the neck. Oh my God, dude. And I love how, you know, he immediately just drops everything. He grabs Robin and he's gonna save his life instead of going after the criminal. He doesn't even
yeah,
hesitate. And he's like, you know, you got to get me out of the costume. You'll lose everything. And he flashes back to something in the past, right? He flashes back to Jason Todd when he had to strip him of his costume so that his identity wasn't compromised. So he takes everything off. He takes Tim and he runs him into the hospital. And I love this. But the mission, the damn mission. And then Bruce visits somebody in the hospital, and there he is. It's fucking Penguin. So he was orchestrating this all from a hospital, but it was all part of his plan.
because he's dying from
Yeah,
mercury poisoning.
which is hilarious to me.
Yeah,
I mean, of course he's dying from. And then what does he do? He fakes his death with the cyanide pill, and this is what kicks off this entire story arc of Failsafe. Everybody's basically thinking that he did it because there's a witness, a nurse comes in, the cops are out there, and what else are they to believe as Batman's fleeing the fucking scene? They think he killed Penguin. Then we come back to the Batcave. And he's not at the Batcave, like I said. He's not at the mansion anymore.
yeah.
He's at his pet brownstone apartment in Gotham. And back at his old cave, we see the beeping. And it says complete, activate, and we see this fucking thing come out. You just end with failsafe online. And
I
we've
mean,
already
it's a hell of an opening, man.
yes, and we already buried the lead with saying like this, you know, this robot gets activated. Why does he get activated? Because Batman killed, right? According to this, like people believe that Batman killed, and this is what I was saying about like a false alarm. Alfred could have shut that down, but he's not alive. So there's nobody to shut it down. And even Batman doesn't know that Alfred is the one that has the ability to do that because he
Yeah,
created
he
it so long ago.
yeah, and he removed any it, Batman being Batman and having contingency on top of contingency. He made it sure that he couldn't turn it off because if Batman went rogue, of course he would try and turn that off. He almost made himself well, not almost. He made himself forget about the specifics of this robot, and the robot is even when it's offline, it's constantly scanning the news. And I guess whenever it heard that phrase, Batman, accused of murder, Batman murder, it comes online right away.
Such a great idea, and I love,
Oh, dude.
like I love that, you talked about it too. I was going to talk about the Tower of Babel because it will be mentioned in here, like specifically, but yeah, it's something that I can't believe nobody touched on before. Nobody like thought about like because in the comic it's like, oh, Ra's al Ghul like brings Batman's parents, but like really though, if Batman had gone rogue, would that have stopped him? His parents' bodies, like I don't think so. I think that was kind of like, what else are you gonna do? I don't want to say it's lame, but I mean that's not really the greatest
Right.
contingency plan for Batman.
It's
Because what if
you
his
need
mind
something
got
a
taken
little bit.
over, right?
Yeah, you
If
need
he,
something more than that to stop
yeah,
Batman. Like you need Batman to stop Batman,
yeah,
basically.
yeah. And look, Tim, he just got shot, and he's right there back
The
with
fucking
Bruce.
bandit.
So Cobblepot's death, it created a void where like lower level thugs get the chance to rise up, more enemies, unending. But it's funny because the criminal underworld, and he mentions it, like they think he's capable of killing now. So they are a little more scared than prior, right? Like Batman doesn't kill, he's not really a crazy threat to us. But now they think that he's capable of murder, so crime has gone down a little bit. And we see him go after this robot. I love that he created this and so perfectly that like he has to run away. Like he can't
Yeah,
defeat this thing. And
I mean,
another thing that I love that was brought back not recently for this arc, but Barbara Gordon back in the role of Oracle, but she also moonlights as Batgirl as well. That was something that I thought was missing in comic books. So it's cool to see her back in that role, and he's talking to her about it. And just the fight scenes, dude. The action
oh,
in here it's next level, dude.
I'm glad you mentioned action because at the beginning of the video, I mentioned how intense this series is, and it's because it's primarily like one long action scene. And another, pop culture reference that came to mind when reading this is the Terminator. Like
Yeah.
where it's like, what makes the Terminator great is that both movies are essentially one long chase scene. That you're being chased by this fucking killer robot, and like that's what this is. And it's real easy to, I've written a couple of comics now, so so I understand that it's real easy to just start writing dialogue and get lost in it. But it's so difficult to be able to tell a narrative through action because as a writer you're going to want to write a lot of words, but like if you really realize like there's not a lot of dialogue sometimes, it's just action. So it's Chip trusting the artist to be able to tell the story that Chip has in his head. And to me this is a great example of like a perfect relationship between writer and artist. And this thing is relentless. Like the word that kept coming back to my mind when I was reading is how fucking relentless this is. Like
Yeah, I
I
think it
couldn't.
also has to do with the fact that Chip's an artist himself, so he knows how to he
Yeah,
knows the language, the art language, of how
yeah,
to convey that stuff. And I love that, the whole Bat family, like he hits the ground running. He could have made this just a purely Batman story, but he brings the entire Batman family
yep,
in. Eventually we're going to see some Justice League members. We get Duke, Cassandra Cain, Batgirl, spoiler, coming in to, help Bruce out, and then Tim has to drag him into the Batmobile and run away. And this scene of like Nightwing on his bike, and then Robin's reaction as Nightwing goes over the fucking Batmobile, like this is like to me like a perfect action movie in
it
comic
is,
book
dude.
form.
And as far as time frame goes, I mean, like it feels like this story is taking place in a matter of hours. Because I think like once Failsafe comes online, like it's pretty nonstop because it's designed to not stop. It's not like Batman's like, oh, I'm gonna take a nap now and then take up for
Yeah.
Failsafe later.
Well,
Like
it takes place, the first few issues take place over, I would say, maybe like 24-36 hours, but then there's
yeah,
a scene where obviously he's taken out for 2 weeks,
yeah,
right?
yeah, 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 yeah. I was gonna get to that, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's the Aquaman stuff.
So they go back into the old cave, and dude, this was the issue where I was like, fucking Chip, because like Batman's like, okay, I gotta go do this alone. And he goes into the cave, takes his costume off, and he's like, Failsafe is familiar. It doesn't mean the same thing when you have a mind that remembers everything. It's an aberration, a fault line running clean across my memory. There's a ticking deep in my head like a clock. Tick tock. I've done this to myself. And he goes into this chest, and you see that the narration changes, right?
Yeah,
And what is it? It's Batman Zur, dude. And he comes out, and
yeah,
it's such a corny costume. It's from the 60s when there was some weird shit going on in the Batman comic books, right? And Grant Morrison brought this back in during his run, made it make sense, right? Like this is a personality that Batman has created within his own mind to take over, right? That's like a pure unbridled Batman. Then we go back to the past, and we see the Tower of Babel story where, and I remember this scene, like, you knew the league would vote you out. He's like, yeah, even if it
yeah.
didn't go my way, some of you still would have voted for me to leave. I can't work with people who don't want me there when lives are on the line. And it makes complete sense. Superman's still pissed. He's like, you had files. One of us could have died. And of course, he says, but you didn't. Are we done here?
Yeah.
Are we done here? I need to get to work. And I love this, dude. I'm not here to talk to Batman. I'm here to talk to Bruce Wayne. Take that damn mask off, or I'll take it off for
Yeah,
you.
dude, I love when Superman gets like that, because he rarely does, and
Yeah.
putting him in his place. Because the Batman, the Batman of Tower of Babel era was like, I love him, but he was kind of an asshole, like
Yeah. He's like, look, how does the league take down the man who's playing for us? Tell me the truth, damn it. In a world where you know every move, who stops the Batman? And that it's almost like that question was what the catalyst for Chip to write this story. That right there
yeah,
feels like he asked himself that question and then wrote the
yeah.
story from there. And then
Oh, he did. He mentions it in an interview.
yeah, and then we see, Batman Zernar goes down to this like secret secret cave within the cave. And now he's getting all his shit together to fucking take down Failsafe. And then it calls back to the Batman RIP storyline. And I mean, just like the equipment that he grabs for himself is just, it's so bare bones. It's like not very high tech. Now he's gonna go after Failsafe, and we see him and Robin go together. So much fucking fun shit going on in this. I'll skip a little bit ahead just for sake of time, but Tim's pissed. He's like, like we almost got killed and we need to be strategic. He's like, if you're really Batman without Bruce, and start acting like it. Because he doesn't. He doesn't really necessarily act like Batman minus the Bruce Wayne personality. Failsafe feels more like that,
Yeah.
just more straight to the point. He says, stay away from Alfred. Because he's crazy. He's a little nuts, dude. And it's funny
Yeah.
because like reading this and then reading the current Joker arc, it ties into this, like, I don't want to spoil that story arc, but it ties into this like creating, multiple personalities for different situations that will be triggered, right? And he's just getting the shit beat out of him, dude. Again, you don't normally see Batman get taken out by something, and for him to be basically taken out by himself.
It's and you rarely see Batman afraid, and he's afraid here. I mean,
Yeah.
at least before he became Zero-Hour, but like,
I love this too when he he says it would be a good death, but Batman doesn't die, and he's like, I don't hear Failsafe, but I hear him. It's fucking Superman, dude. Oh, dude, I love this. That page with Superman coming in, and he just looks and he says, "Back away now," and then we see Failsafe kryptonite fucking shards that he's gonna stab Superman with. I like that he's narrating what's like Bruce is narrating what's happening, right? Like he talks about how Clark switches to long range tactics to cut down his thing, but he's like, I would have known that he would do that. So Failsafe knows that he would do that too. And he's like, I can't stop it. I can't save my friend. And then we get the Justice League come in. I love this. Martian Manhunter, Green Arrow, Black Canary, or Hawkgirl.
yeah,
And even though he's weak and he's hurt, he saves Superman and he is able to get, or Green Arrow carries Bruce and Tim drags Superman to the Justice League ship. He's like, dude, this 3 panels of Chip riding
yes.
Green Arrow. Gotta stop this thing. And you really think that Justice League has a shot without Green Arrow? Come on, you bastard. My headache owes you. Perfect dialogue for Green Arrow. He's gonna take him to the Fortress of Solitude. But then as Failsafe goes back to Gotham, we realize it's all part of, what Batman's plan would be, how to take them out. He uses the
Dude,
magnetism for Hawk
yeah.
Girl, right? Fucking the
And
mask on Black Canary, the fire for Martian Manhunter. It's crazy, like, and they don't even realize like this is all part of the plan.
I love the detail that, like, when Oracle finds out that this block was owned by Bruce Wayne, so he basically bought a city block
Yeah.
and outfitted it with traps for the League to lure them into this block if he ever had to and stop them. It's like an extension of the Tower of Babel stuff. I mean, so good, man. Like every issue in this arc has something that just ratchets up the momentum and the intensity. It's amazing storytelling, man. It's like it's a master class in how to tell an action-packed story without losing characterization. You mentioned the 3 panels with Green Arrow. Like 3 panels, they're able to give Green Arrow the personality that we all know. It's 3 panels,
Uh-huh. This
It's
page.
such good.
You're Robin. You'll save him. I'm proud of you, Tim, of the man you've become. And he's about to say something. He's like, don't worry about me. I'll survive this. He just throws himself out of the plane into the ocean. And how does he know he's going to survive? Because he's Batman. And
Yeah.
Aquaman comes, saves him. And this is where it's talking about, like, now 2 weeks have passed. He's been healed. But he's now made Atlantis a target, right? Gotham has been taken by Failsafe. Oracle's been captured. Everybody's been captured. And they have assumed he's dead, but Failsafe knows he's still alive.
I love this huge bat symbol idea too. Like all these little pods that drop to create a bat symbol that covers the entire sky over Gotham.
Yeah, it's dope.
Like yeah, dude, amazing. Again, like it has so many great moments. Like every issue has a multiple holy shit moments, and it's great, man. I think it's probably gonna. I mean, I've read it twice now, I think, and it's gonna become one of my favorite Batman arcs, like right up there with like Year One and Tower of Babel. Like I think it deserves a place on the shelf right next to classics
I
like
think
that.
it's probably one of the most or the best modern day Batman stories that I've read in a very long time. I think it encapsulates what makes Batman great. It touches on the relationships between the Bat family. It touches on the relationships between Justice League, and has so many great moments with other characters too, like great lines. Like, Aquaman is he's mad, right? He put Atlantis in danger, but what does he say, right? Like, he's as the people of Atlantis are pissed, and he's like, "You're not even our king anymore. Why should we not just hand this Batman over to the land robot?" And he said this question: "How many lives or how many times have you saved this planet?" And the guy's like, "That's a preposterous question." He's like, "If you ask Batman that question, you have to wait." While he tallied up his answer, "You live and breathe the ocean thanks to Batman. Defend him." That's that is superb writing, dude. Like,
Yeah, man.
every character that he writes in here, and it's like Aquaman in and of himself can be arrogant. Aquaman in and of himself is like a great character, right? And has saved the earth. But what does he say when the people of Atlantis are like basically wanting to give Batman up? He has his back, and then you see the respect that he has for Bruce, right? It's crazy, dude. It's just so good. And then where does he go? He goes back to the Watchtower. I miss that headquarters.
I do too. I put a big smile on my face when I
Yeah.
saw it. I mean, because that the Watchtower era is like when I got back into comics after a lapse. So like I dove full on into that era of the Justice League, and that's what really made me fall in love with them.
That's
So it
my
was great
era
to
of Justice League, if I'm being
yeah.
honest. Like, that's when I don't want to say I had a pull, but that was like the first Justice League run that I bought, right? Like, that I would get off at the market, because when grocery stores still had comics. Like, I was getting the Grant Morrison Justice League from there, and going to the comic book store too. But like, I was getting comics wherever I could back then. So that era of Justice League holds a very special place in my heart. So to see that it's, and obviously Chip is probably around, maybe like, I don't want to like call you old, but probably closer to your age than mine. But still, like, this run obviously in that era had a huge like impact on him, right? Batman goes to the fucking armory, and he's gonna try to take Failsafe down, even though he knows that it's pointless, kind of, right? And he hits him with this like new Genesis gun, knocks a hole in him, and then then what happens? This is what's really crazy to me. Batman is about to transport, but the transporter gets blown up. He literally, as he's trying to get to one of the javelins, none of them are operable, and he falls from space.
Dude,
Fucking
this shit
Batman falls from
fucking
space,
amazing.
from the moon to the fucking earth.
I like and then later on there's a line it's like, how'd you get here? Oh, I fell from the moon.
Oh my god, dude. I mean, it's crazy. How does he fucking, like, he's a human being and he fucking survives going through the atmosphere, and you just see him land. Yeah, and like, I love that. How he's like, what happened? I fell from the moon.
Yeah. Like it's no big deal. Like if
Yeah.
you just like if you jump from the diving board, oh, I just jumped in.
Look, for him to even say that he needs Clark's help, very rarely do you see him ask for help. I do like this, where he's like, this thing is designed to defeat Batman, but it doesn't stand a chance against Batman and Robin. Damn right.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
that's, even as I'm going through this, because this will not be if you want to be technical, this will be the third time I've gone through this, as we're talking about it. I love this. The old moves come back. Dick always went off book. Jason hated practicing them, but Tim, he loved it. The teamwork. We had each other's backs. They think that since, he can't take him down because like the failsafe would like recognize that his system's being overridden, he just tries to add a bit of programming by adding compassion, and it doesn't work. The scene right here, it's okay, and then he just gets destroyed.
Yeah, dude, it's heart wrenching and like what a way to end it too.
Yeah.
Like.
Have you read the second arc yet?
No, I'm going to
Okay,
though.
okay. I Actually, I wouldn't mind doing it with you, if I'm being
All
completely
right, yeah,
honest.
yeah.
Because
I'm probably gonna read it soon, very
yeah,
soon.
let me know, because I was about to start it, but I'll wait. I'll wait till we're gonna talk
Yeah,
about it.
yeah. I'll probably pick it up this week then
But
and
this
read it.
is fantastic. I know we've talked about doing like, I think Nightwing, we wanted to talk about the second arc. We haven't talked about that yet, but I really want to reread that second arc, because like I said, I really dug this one the most out of all of the arcs that Chip has written so far.
No,
This
it
was
was great, man.
Yeah, this is a great Batman story. This is, look, I was not a huge fan of the James Tynion run. There was moments in that run that I enjoyed, but this was what I wanted out of a Batman comic book. I think it's the best, like between this and Rom V on Detective Comics, this is the best the Batman books have been in years consecutively, like, or concurrently, I mean, as they're both running together. And yeah, if you guys haven't read this book, I think there's two hardcovers out right now. I know they do trades as well, but those usually take like another 6 to 8 months after the hardcovers drop. So I highly recommend it. I'm really glad that you messaged me that you bought this so that we could talk
Yeah.
about it, because I've been wanting a reason to kind of reread this. Fantastic.
No, it was great, dude. And it's like Tower of Babel and Year One. It's one that I know I'm gonna revisit throughout the years. I mean, I was even talking at work to people about this fucking book, dude. Like, friends that I have at work that are into comics. Like, I told one of my coworkers the entire story, and they were like, dude, that sounds awesome, and like,
Yeah.
that's how much on my mind it was when I was reading this. I was like, I couldn't get I could not get this story out of my mind. And
Yeah. Fantastic. Go pick it up. I'm sure we're going to talk about the second arc. So make sure you like, follow, subscribe, hit that bell icon so you're notified every time we drop a new vid. And on that note, we're out.